Hello, good evening, and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and this is your latest Manchester United news. As we don't say here we go, we say three we go, because there could be three Manchester United players out on their arse. Where did that come from? Out on their arse very, very soon. Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay and Fred. Will they all go? Won't they all go? We'll talk about where they might be going and the definitive interest in signing all three players, which could raise upwards of 60, 70, 80, even 90 million pounds for Erik ten Hag that he would look to reinvest in the squad. So positive moves potentially going on there as well. I will give you the latest on Rasmus Hojlund as well, because obviously I got cut off a little bit earlier. I feel like I haven't been live with you for ages, even though we did last night's stream. I'm feeling really refreshed. I hope you're doing well. I got to bed at about 4 o'clock, didn't get up till 11, and that'll do me a good 7 hours, and I'm back at it, ready to go. So yeah, lots to get involved in. I will give you the latest on Hojlund. We'll talk a bit about Amrabat as well, but I really want to talk about the sales because there has been some good updates later going on. Joe says, is it hotter than the sun with Hojlund? All I'd say is get yourself down Boots or your local chemist or your local supermarket, get yourself some Factor 50 suntan lotion and lather it all over your place, because if you want to get close to this Hojlund deal, you'll get sunburnt. It's that hot at the moment. Anyway, we're sponsored by Manscaped on the stream. From sun lotion to hair removal. Landscaping for your manscaping. Manscaped, trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. As you know by now, you get 20% off. You get free worldwide shipping, and you also get the lawnmower, which is for down there. And I've got the lawnmower somewhere. Where's the old lawnmower gone? It's disappeared upstairs. I actually need to use it later. The lawnmower for down there, the weed whacker for up there, and then this big beauty. Absolute fantastic. New out from Manscaped. Listen to this purr. Whoa. Sounds like something else. But it's actually for your beard. The quickest beard trim. I'll tell you what, this is like, if this was a Formula One car, it would be Red Bull. Because Red Bull do quick pit stops. It's so fast for shaving. And you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. It's brand new out now. Best I've ever had. I love it down there. I love it up there, and I love it round there. And I'm talking about trimming, nothing else. Check it out, 20% off, free worldwide shipping. Manscaped's fantastic. Give it a go. You won't regret it. You'll say Goldbridge was right. He wasn't talking shit on this. He was absolutely right. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Where should we start? I want to talk about the outgoings, because... Shall I talk about Hojlund at the start and just get it out of the way, actually? So I was talking to you this afternoon, and I got cut off. My... graphics card on my laptop gave out, so it just died. But I think I'd got some of it in. But basically, very, very quick story on Hojlund, because I want to talk about Maguire, McTominay and Fred and a few other bits tonight, and just get some of your questions as well. So basically, quick story. This morning, PSG apparently agreed personal terms with Rasmus Hojlund and put a bid in of 50 million euros and wouldn't go any higher. Within half an hour of that, all the UK press close to Man United started talking about how United are going to sign Rasmus Hojlund, how Ten Hag wants him before the Wolves game, how he's going to fit him into the squad, how Rashford might play up front to start off with to help him bed into the team. So, weird. And then we've heard that Man United have made a bid of 50 million euros plus 10 in add-ons. And then we've heard from Fabrizio Romano that United are going to hold more talks tomorrow, but PSG are waiting in the wings. And that's basically the story from the press. As I said to you, the fact that PSG are in the race, you have to acknowledge it. The fact that PSG put a bid in after their personal terms being agreed, and then the UK press start talking confidently about Hojlund, means that United have briefed the UK press, in my opinion, that they're very confident they're going to get the deal done. And they've got every right to be confident, because personally, my input has been for the last 2 months, and hasn't changed, and didn't change today when I spoke to somebody, is that Rasmus Hojlund wants to come to Manchester United. Erik ten Hag wants Rasmus Hojlund. This has been going on for 2 months. Nothing has changed. His priority is Manchester United. And unless Man United's negotiators do something absolutely ridiculous, which they don't look like they're going to do at the moment, then he will sign for Manchester United, because that is his preference. Now, if Man United went and bought Mawani, he'd go to PSG, Rasmus Hojlund. But as long as United want Rasmus Hojlund, he'll sign for Man United, because that's where he wants to go. And that's basically the story. So I'm relaxed. and have been relaxed all day. Manchester United have been working on the deal for Rasmus Hojlund for ages, and PSG still got their bid in first, as Adam Lee. And Mark, you're a legend, says Mustafa. Thank you very much, Mustafa. Hope you're doing very well. And Asher's just gifted 5 memberships, talking about being a legend. Big shout out to Asher there. So let's get into this clever little thumbnail that we've done. 3 we go. I came up with that line. Some people think it's a bit crap, but I just thought, here we go. If you take the... That doesn't work. There we go. I should have done, not 3 we go. I've completely missed it because I thought if you take the T off, it's here we go. There we go. There they go. Anyway, I've messed it up. It didn't work out. Keevan says it's a bit cringe. It's not cringe. It's crap. Let's call it for what it is, just Keevan. There's nothing cringy about it. It's crap. Not cringe. Anyway, so basically there are 3 United players that have got major interest with them at the moment. We'll start with Fred. So Galatasaray want Fred. Man United are trying to shake out a bid for Fred from Galatasaray. I'm a little bit concerned about this because Galatasaray have obviously just bought, I think, Wilfried Zaha. I don't know what their budget is. We want £20 million for Fred. And when I hear Galatasaray, and apparently that's where Fred wants to go, I start thinking 10, 12 million quid, and that's not enough for Fred. Do you think Hojlund, Amrabat and a backup goalkeeper in our transfer window is done, says Kartik? Well, we'll get onto that in a moment, but I don't think that is enough money for Fred. 12, 15 million pounds. I think that Saudi Arabia would take him. I think that Fulham would take him, and I think with that you would get 15 to 20 million. So it's looking like Fred's heading to Galatasaray at the moment. That's what the latest is. But I'm just a little bit worried that Galatasaray will not have 20 million quid. And I think we can achieve 20 million for Fred. He's only just 30. He has sporadically been quite a good player for us. I think if you sent him off to Saudi Arabia or Fulham, you would get close to 20. And Galatasaray just feels like it'll be a cheap deal. And United 90 says I'd take 15. Look, if it's 15, it's 15, but I do think we can comfortably get 15 from Fulham and comfortably get 20 from Saudi Arabia. Galatasaray, to me, seems like Fred wants to go there, and he's like, let me go there. And I'm like, I'm not letting you go there for cheap. You can go there, but I want the price. So keep an eye on that one with Fred. He's obviously going to go. He never went on the tour. They spoke about personal issues. I think actually those personal issues are probably him deciding where he wants to go next, not anything more sinister than that. But Fred, actually, I thought would have gone by now. It's been rumbling on for, most of July with Fred. So let's hope that that gets resolved quickly. Second story is Harry Maguire. So Sky Sports, again, saying that Harry Maguire is still a target for West Ham, and they're still hopeful that they can do a deal. West Ham have always been the significant team for Harry Maguire. And I will say, look, I watched the game last night. I didn't have the audio and I don't know the full facts, but getting tagged in it again that it's my fault that people boo him is just hilarious. If I told Seb that Harry Maguire got booed last night, I'd be very sad. So I don't want to see Harry Maguire getting booed. It's ridiculous. I've never booed a player at a football ground, and I'm not about to start now unless it's an opposition player who I don't like. So I don't agree with booing. If people want to boo players, it's up to them. I didn't like it when Martial was booed. I didn't like it when Pogba was booed. But I would agree with both those players leaving, and Pogba did leave. But I don't think we should be booing players. I don't think it's a really good look for a Manchester United fan base, if I'm being honest, unless they've done something horrifically bad, which I don't think Maguire has. He's just, probably not good enough for Man United. I love your work and the entire channel's work. Who do you think will be the most important player this season, says Asher? I've got a feeling that there's a few, really. Casemiro, Martinez, Varane, Rashford, Bruno, Onana. I think there's quite a few. Where do you think we'll finish next season, says Cape? Hopefully in the top 4. I don't see us winning the title. Do you really think United can get 45 million from McTominay? We're going to talk about him in a minute, Alistair. And Amrabat is very much like Vidal. Rasmus is very similar to Van Nistelrooy. That's the analysis I've got, says Wesam. Well, remember, you've got 2 good videos on the United Stand about those 2 players that you can look at as well. So West Ham remain in the hunt for Harry Maguire. It's such an interesting one because I can sort of bring Scott McTominay into this as well. Over the last 24 hours, and again this morning, really good sources close to West Ham are now indicating that West Ham's priority signing in the midfield is Scott McTominay. Well, this is music to my ears because I almost put Maguire and McTominay in the same situation. They're so similar in regards to situation and solution. We aren't sold. We can't sell players. We can't sign players. Please, can someone switch on the light at the end of the tunnel, says Mojo. But, I think that when I look at this and I look at how easy this is to solve. United's part in this has just got to be get a reasonable price. If West Ham want to buy both players, United should be doing everything in their power to accommodate those two players going there. There shouldn't be, we shouldn't be pricing West Ham out of a move. We shouldn't be saying to Harry or Scott, we'd like you to stay. This is an opportunity to cash on to... The thing is, it's like, if I've got a car on my drive and I know the engine's a bit crap, and I know that in a year's time I'm going to have to get new tyres on it, it's probably going to fail its MOT, and then somebody gives me a good offer, I'm not going to say, yeah, I want another £1,000 for it. I'm going to sell it. And I think that's what I'd feel about Maguire and McTominay. Forget their talent, forget their age, forget anything. I really don't think next year you'll get any more money. I think now is the time to sell them. And I don't know why you'd keep hold of them. They're not good enough for the first team. When they play, we drop off, if we're being honest. And in a year's time, they're not going to be worth any more because they won't be playing much. So, and if they do play a lot, we tend to get bad results. So the time is now to cash in on those players. So United should be looking to do that. And to do that, you've got to, be working with West Ham or whoever else is interested. And you've got to be speaking openly and honestly to Scott McTominay and Harry Maguire. Now, I think that conversation has happened between Ten Hag and Maguire. I've noticed when we sell players, it's not just about the fee. A lot of media are mentioning their wages. I'm wondering if we are taking lower fees just purely because of wages. Freddie's on $7 million a year. Good point, Sean. Can you say centre forward on top, please? Will make my day, says Cap. And Nick's idea says, watch for years, Marks. I love you to bits. Look, these thumbnails need to stop. Be genuine. It's what made you successful. Constructive feedback. I don't know what you're talking about, Nick. You might have some ideas, but I think your ideas are way off. So 3 we go. We're talking about 3 players that could go. What was the video Beth did? New talks. Yes, Romano says there's new talks tomorrow. PSG out was my thumbnail. PSG are out of the race because Man United are winning it. So I don't know what you're talking about, Nick. Constructive feedback the other way. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, going back to Maguire and McTominay. So you've got West Ham who want both players there. Now, in the case of Harry Maguire, Martinez is considerably better than you. Varane is considerably better than you. And many people think Lindelof is better than Maguire. He's certainly in better form. So your 4th choice centre-back, your England starting centre-back, you go to West Ham, you play Europa League football, which you're used to, and you get to play Premier League football week in, week out, ahead of the Euros. You go to West Ham, you'll play in the Euros as England's starting centre-back, because Southgate just wants you to play Premier League football. You stay at Man United, you might not play a game until October, and you might lose your place. So logically, Maguire should be walking to London. He should be like Dick Whittington. He should have a big stick with a bit of handkerchief tied up with his sandwiches in it, and he should be walking off with a cat. But in this case, not a cat, Scott McTominay. So yeah, I think he should be looking to go. But I think Maguire's the one in that. I don't know. I mean, I can't say that I've got good sources close to Harry Maguire. I certainly don't. But I don't know what he's planning to do. But he seems to be miserable, but he could do something about it, In relation to Scott McTominay, selling both players to West Ham allows United to balance the books better, asset-wise. Instead of 40 million McTominay and 20 million Maguire, they could say 30 million each, says Garth. Yes, they could do. They really could. And also, I think as well, I was going to say this about Scott McTominay, but I'd say it about Harry Maguire as well. Ultimately, the bottom line is that, and I say this with a complete and utter straight face, and I'd wonder how many people would actually agree with me. If Scott McTominay and Harry Maguire go to West Ham, I think that they improve West Ham. I do. I think Scott McTominay at West Ham would be a good player. He'd suit the way that David Moyes plays and the way that West Ham want to play. He's very good in the air, and West Ham are quite a physical aerial team. Harry Maguire's good in the air as well. There's a lot of defending when you play for West Ham because that's the way that they have to play. They're not one of the top 6. That will suit people like Maguire and McTominay who like to play in a deeper line. And they are players that put their foot in. So I think they'd be good players for West Ham. I don't think these 2 players are shit. I know I've said it, but they are in relation to United's level. They're not. They're never top 4 players. They're not. I mean, Harry Maguire's never been a top 4 player. We thought he was when we bought him from Leicester. Look, James Maddison's going to Spurs. Bruno Fernandes went from Sporting Lisbon. Aaron Wan-Bissaka came in from Crystal Palace. You do buy players at lower clubs and they are ready for the top four, and we hoped that with Maguire, but he's never looked like a top four centre-back, and, you know, we tried, it didn't work out. Scott McTominay seems to have been playing for this club sporadically for a decade and has never looked like a top four player. But I think at a club like West Ham, they could really thrive. They could really kick their careers up the arse, and you could find yourself in 6 months' time, like Lingard when he went to West Ham, going, he's found his level. You know, and Lingard nearly got back in the England squad doing what he was doing at West Ham. Never good enough for Man United. Never good enough for Liverpool. Never good enough for Man City, Lingard. But he found his level, and he found a niche. And I think that Maguire and McTominay, I'd say to a West Ham fan anyway, because I'd lie, but honestly, I think that they would improve your squad. And £60 million for the pair, I think it'd be really good business. Love the videos as always, but tend to agree with Nick about the cringe level. Okay, I don't really care about thumbnails, so why don't you and Nick exchange numbers and chat about it on a DM? Whoever said 35 million for Mac, I need the number of your dealer, says Mr. Cheetah. And Mark, if we raised 80 million from these players, I'd be going balls out, Mike Calvert, for Kane, assuming that we're not relying on it for Hojlund, need both. Our midfield is okay, says Mike. Well, the worrying thing about all of these deals for me is the price. And one of the stories that came out from West Ham today was that they want Scott McTominay and David Moyes really likes him, but United's price of £40 million is prohibitive, and they're hoping that Man United will lower that price. What are we doing? Putting a price of £40 million on Scott McTominay anyway? I think Murtaugh's done a couple of deals and he thinks he's bloody Wolf of Wall Street. You're still... No, I'm not going to say that. But, you know, he's not... I'm not going to repeat old ground, but Scott McTominay's not worth 40 million quid. We can have a grown-up conversation here, but he's worth 30 million quid, and that's a good price. He's never proven himself at Man United. He hasn't had a good game in a year. He's done well for Scotland, but there's plenty of players who do well for Scotland who play in the Championship and back in Scotland. So, no, he's a £30 million player, and I don't know how we've got the balls, talking about Manscaped, I don't know how we've got the balls to ask for 40 million quid. Harry Maguire, I think you could get away with 40 for him, but ultimately his wages, I think 30 million for the pair, 60 million for the pair, 30 million each is about right. But I guarantee you, United will be sat there, probably with the Glazers saying, no, they're not Scottish, are they? The Glazers will be saying, no, I want 80 million, at least 80 million just for Harry Maguire. No, 80 million for the pair, they'll be going. McTominay will always play Scotland, so won't leave, says Rory. And sell Maguire, McTominay and Fred for a combined 80 million. The net spend is about 10 million, and only considering we've sold Elanga, Tellez and a few youngsters, our net spend can be minus 10. That paves way for 3 more signings easily, says Mojo. I'm going to come on to that now. What's the lowest lump sum you'd take for Maguire, Fred, Henderson and McTominay in one go? Well, Sambo, I don't know whether we were talking about this yesterday. Apparently we're loaning Henderson, so we're not even going to make any bloody money until next year. Nuts says, I say 60 million for Maguire and McTominay to West Ham, and I'm happy. I don't care how they split it, 30-30, 20-40, I'd be happy with 60 million. Exactly. And it's funny, isn't it? Because I think, as always, you do find the common sense and football knowledge in the fan base. I did a video on That's Football today, and I will always fight for fan opinion, because ultimately fan opinion is all that matters. Fans are what matter. These players that we worship, who wear our club shirts, somebody comes along from Saudi Arabia and says, I'll treble your wages, and they're like, see you later. It's our club, it's our sport, and it's fan opinion that matters. And most of the time, fans are the ones that are switched on. I mean, if I'm being completely blunt, the people who work on United's board and recruitment team don't give a shit about Man United. It's a job. They're probably looking for a pay rise at the end of the year. They're not hardcore Man United fans. They're doing a job. You are hardcore United fans. You look at things from a football level. They look at it from a business level. And also, they're puppets for the Glazers as well. McTominay fulfills club trained quota, hence the 40 million, says Told Ya. And Andrew Fletcher has been a member for 11 months. Thank you very much. But when you look at it, United have spent £55 million on Mount. We've spent £45 million on Onana. That's 100 million. and probably another £50 million on Hojlund. That's 150 million. Probably another 25 on Amrabat. That's 175 million spent if we get those 4 players in. Now, if you sell Alanga for 15, which we have, and you sell Telles for 5, that's 20, and you sell Fred for 20, that's 40, and you sell McTominay for 30, that's 70, and you sell Maguire for 30, that's £100 million off £175 million, leaves you with a £75 million net spend, which means you've got another 45 you could spend on a centre-back. So this is the path to how United need to do it. And I think it's the path that Erik Ten Hag is trying to walk down. I always said we'd spend £200 million, but obviously we're going to have to sell some players to do that. Hand on heart, do you believe Erik Ten Hag wants Scott gone, says Robert McCormack? No, I don't, actually. I don't. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer liked McTominay. Jose Mourinho liked McTominay. Ralph Rangnick liked Scott McTominay. Erik Ten Hag liked Scott McTominay. Sir Alex Ferguson likes Scott McTominay. Michael Carrick likes Scott McTominay. I'm not going to lie and say that they don't, because they do. But you know what? If all those 6 people told me to jump off a cliff, I wouldn't do it. Because I've got my own opinion. And fair play, those people have got better football brains than me, with the exception of one of them, which I'm not going to name. But ultimately, I have my own opinion. And whether Sir Alex and Carrick and everybody else who I like and respect like Scott McTominay, maybe they like him because he's a nice lad and he's a good, fun lad who works hard in training. Because consistently, I would say, if you took all his games as 100%, I've seen him play well in less than 10. Which means in 90% of the games I've seen him play, and there have been considerable, I don't think he's very good. I think he's below average. So, it's hard to like the modern player, Mark says enjoy writing. But look, you know, I agree with Robert McCormack because I know he likes him. There is probably a very big chance that Erik Ten Hag does want to keep McTominay because he's a good player to have around the dressing room and he's a good player to have around the training ground. And that is not in dispute. And I think that's why he's liked by Mourinho and Sir Alex and Ten Hag and Ollie and Rangnick. I know people around the training ground, obviously speak to them, and McTominay's not one of them, but he is, I think from everything I've heard, he's a nice lad and he's really well liked and he does get what United's all about. Somebody said to me about 2 years ago, if Scott McTominay was a decent player, he'd be the perfect Man United player because he gets what it's all about. He puts the effort in, he knows what United is. He talks the talk, but he just hasn't got the ability, unfortunately. And I suppose that's like most of you lot. Most of you lot would probably be the perfect Man United player, just not good enough to play for them. So I'd cash in. And I've gone full circle with that because ultimately we're not a charity. It's not about whether they're a good lad around the dressing room or the changing room. It's about winning. And I don't think Pep Guardiola would keep a player at Man City because they're well liked and they're a good lad and people like them. That's not how you win trophies, If you want to go home with the prom queen, you better win. It's as simple as that. Losers go home with second place. And Manchester United have to have that mentality. But as I say, from a business point of view, if you don't cash in on Maguire and McTominay this summer, you'll get less next summer. So, few home truths. West Ham have bid 40 million for Conor Gallagher. Why should we take less for McTominay? Because Conor Gallagher's better than McTominay, I think, is probably the answer. Fred, 20 million. McTominay, 30 million. Maguire, 30 million. 80 million, that's realistic. I'd like to see Sancho stay and do well, but would you be in on a player plus cash deal for Kane? Says Mike. I think if Jade, it's a great question. I think if Jadon Sancho wanted to go to Spurs and back to London, because I think he is from London, then I'd do the deal. I mean, there's so many moving parts in a deal like that. I think Jadon Sancho has shown in pre-season there's a good player there. Man United might just be a bit too big for him. If you look at Jack Grealish at Aston Villa, he thrived as a big fish in a smaller pond. Went to Man City. He's thriving now, but what I mean is there are other players that go from being a big fish in a small pond and they don't survive. Maybe Jadon Sancho suits being at Dortmund, not the biggest fish in the league. Maybe Sancho would suit being at a club like Spurs. But I think he's done reasonably well in pre-season, and I think Erik ten Hag's quite happy with him, so I think he will stay. I've always felt that. 45 million left to spend on a centre-back, you say, so we could have paid Kim's release clause if we had been a bit more organised, says Glennie. Yeah, and it's always worth mentioning that, of course, we did miss out on players this summer that Ten Hag did want. I don't think we'll ever be able to classify some of these players in relation to what choice they were. But Kim Min-jae was the first choice centre-back. Well, we haven't bought a centre-back yet, so we don't know. Harry Kane was the first choice centre-forward. I think Osimhen was number 2. With regards to Hojlund, maybe he wanted 2 strikers. I personally think Hojlund was always a priority because I think he wanted a young striker and a main striker. And I think he's just ended up getting the young striker if we get Hojlund. Mount was obviously priority number 1. I don't think Amrabat was priority number 1, but we haven't got him yet anyway. And Onana was priority number 1. I just wish Martial, Brandon Williams and the rest of the deadwood were cleared out as well. So much saved wages to sacking. Well, I think on those 2 players, Anthony Martial will stay because no one's going to buy Martial. On Brandon Williams, I don't think anyone's going to buy him because Solskjaer gave him the stupidest contract we've ever given out. And it's not Brandon Williams' fault, but he was an up-and-coming youth player who got given a wage that would make you one of the best paid players at most Premier League clubs. I think he's on 65 grand a week, somebody said. So he's unsellable. And yet, if he stays, I can't see where he fits in because you've got Wan-Bissaka and Dalot at right back, and I think he's got to play right back. But on the left-hand side, you've got Malacia and Luke Shaw. So I think it's hard for Brandon Williams to stay at United this season. But you never know. He played quite well last night when he came on. Was it the game last night and Sancho just can't hold the ball as number 9, need him on the wings, says Abalash. I don't like Sancho as a number 9. That may be a little bit controversial or minority view at the moment, but I don't think Sancho works as a number 9. And I think if we try it in competitive games, he will get absolutely swallowed up because I think Rashford struggles to hold the ball up, and I think he can play as a number 9, but I don't think Sancho's got the attributes. I think he's got to play deeper or out on the wing. Sakin says, where are the attacking patterns, Mark? Fans are blaming everyone and everything except the manager and the coaching. He can't be excused. Interesting, says Sakin. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I said it after the game last night. There was 3 big issues for me. First of all, we were impotent up front. Second of all, we have got no number 8. And third of all, when we make subs, we thought there's a massive drop-off. And we saw this last year. When we started making subs last year, especially in March and April, the drop-off from the first 11 to the next sub, it was like falling off a cliff. It was terrible. The amount of times you'd make 3 substitutions in the last 20 minutes, and United's team would just be hanging on. So these are big issues. I just want to say as well, when I said we need a number 8, a load of people started going mad about Mason Mount. In fact, somebody just said that. Charlie said, what was Mount signed for then? Look, maybe Mason Mount can be the number 8, but my point is we haven't got one. I'm not going to call Mason Mount a number 8 when I haven't seen him perform as a number 8. So I'm not saying that he can't be the number 8. Hopefully Mainu's injury's not bad. He could be the number 8. If we buy Amrabat, he could be the number 8. But what I'm talking about is the last 12 months. And currently, we don't have a number 8. We saw it yesterday. Eriksen cannot do that role. He's not quick enough. He's not physical enough. Maybe Mason Mount will be doing that role. I hope so, because I don't want to see Bruno on the right wing to put Mason Mount as a number 10. Cannot stand that idea. If we move Bruno out wide to put Mason Mount as a number 10, I don't like it. I hope it works, but I don't like it. But we need a combative number 8. We need somebody who can put some tackles in. We need somebody who can transition the ball. And whether it's going to be Mason Mount or somebody else, I feel it's a really important position for Manchester United at the moment. Do you find it odd the positions Ten Hag is playing our attacking players this pre-season, says Adin? Not really, because somebody said it on the watch-along last night. Absolutely spot on. If you can't try things out in pre-season, then when can you? We're not trying to beat Real Madrid last night. Maybe we wanted to try Mason as a 10 and Bruno as a right to see how it works. You've got to try things out in pre-season. Be interested to see what he does against Dortmund, actually. Mojo, thank you very much. 20 memberships. He's a legend. Jose has joined the membership club as well. Welcome. And great show as usual, says Dean Turner. But going back to talking about how impotent we are, Remember, Cavani left and wasn't replaced. That's one striker down. Ronaldo left, our top scorer, arguably our best player, wasn't replaced. That's two strikers down. And Anthony Martial was injured for most of the season last year. That's three strikers down. We're three strikers down in 12 months. You can moan about Ten Hag's attack being impotent if you want to. I don't. I back Ten Hag. I think he's the right man. I think he's been absolutely hung out to dry by a club that sometimes tries to spin its own PR to protect itself when it doesn't realise, but by protecting itself, you're exposing the manager. And that's why you get people like Sakin saying, you've got to look at the manager, you've got to look at the coaching, we're not very good in the final third. But ultimately, on the other hand, yeah, I agree we're not that good in the final third, but we still created 3 or 4 big chances yesterday. Mason Mount had one, Rashford had one, there was a couple of others as well. And yet in a year, 12 months, Cavani's a good finisher, he's gone, not replaced. Ronaldo's a good finisher, he's gone, not replaced. And Martial's a good finisher, he's always injured, not replaced. So, yeah, I think we can be a lot better in the final third, but it's disgusting. And we get so excited about Rasmus Hojlund, and I'm excited about Rasmus Hojlund, but he's one player. We're actually 3 strikers down. There's nothing in the youth setup. Joe Hugel's not ready, Charlie McNeil's not ready, and they may never be ready. You've got a broken Anthony Martial, a left winger in Rashford, and hopefully Rasmus Hojlund. It ain't good enough. It ain't good enough. We don't have the profile of strikers that we should have, and that's the bottom line. Do you find it odd the positions? Okay, we've done that one from Adden. I would actually rather have Bruno as an 8 and Mount as a 10. I absolutely hate to see Bruno being wasted on the wings, says Mario Franco. Me too. And Sakin says, honestly, though, we are debating about Mount and Onana instead of the sale. They're slowly but surely wearing us down. 6 weeks and no sale news, says Sakin. Do you agree with Rashford playing 9 for some games to help Hojlund get used to the league, says United Scope? I think it's a necessity. It might have to happen. But I don't think Marcus Rashford looks comfortable as a number 9. I don't think he wants to play there. We don't carry any aerial threat. Why neglect it, says Enjoy Writing. Just on the sale, by the way, I got into quite a good debate on Twitter last night, I think it was, just before the match, where I'd said that this transfer window cannot... I don't understand why people are saying that this transfer window is a success when, to me, it can never be more than a 6 or a 7 out of 10, no matter who we sign, because the Glazers are here. And then somebody said, well, I tend to judge a transfer window on ingoings and outgoings, and I think we've done really well in the circumstances. And I replied and said, but it's those circumstances that dictate this. You know, if you were expecting fish and chips on a Friday night and you get beans on toast and the beans and toast are quite nice, are you just going to sit there and go, this is great, it's exactly what I expected, just because the beans on toast are quite nice? Fish and chips is better, and that's what we should have got. There ain't no fish or chips on beans on toast. And I think that's what I'm trying to say. You can talk about this transfer window being exciting and good, and I like some of the players that we've bought, but this Glazer transfer window compared to a Qatari transfer window is night and day. I don't think that should go unnoticed. I'm with Sakin on that one. I don't think it should go unnoticed. This transfer window, it's like polishing a turd. Oh, go on, John. Go on, Richard. Go on, the Glazers. You're doing your best. Yes, yes. We're doing, in the circumstances, even though we're swimming around in shit, we are floating. And I'm like, we could be in a top-of-the-range swimming pool, with butlers giving us drinks and loads of people having a pool party. But no, we're swimming around in shit, and because we're not drowning, everyone's going, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. But I don't want to talk about whether it's too bad. The circumstances are shit. We should not be in this situation. And that is because of the Glazers. And yes, we have acquired some players that I'm excited about, but I'm telling you now, if Qatar had got hold of us in May, imagine the summer we would have had. And what an important summer it would have been as well. Look at the amount of players that are moving around. The pre-season tour and the transfer speculation is taking the focus off the fiasco that is the sale of the club, says Mike Calvert. It's amazing how many people have actually moved their minds away from the sale. Like, I absolutely find it incredible that we've been up for sale since November. We were expected to be sold by March. We definitely expected to be sold by May. And actually, Qatar put a bid in nearly 2 months ago and we've heard nothing. There's no news. They've just completely buried it. It's like a cat burying a shit. They've just buried it and we're all meant to forget about it because we can't smell it. Well, I can smell it. It's disgusting. Trying to see where Mount fit makes me wonder if he really was a desired target of Ten Hag, and if so, what was his tactical plan for him? Stephen, I can categorically tell you that Mason Mount was 100% a priority for Erik ten Hag. So I suppose that in itself is quite exciting when we don't know what's going to happen with him. Klaus says it took Klopp 4 to 5 windows to get started, and that was with a good director of football and negotiator. Ten Hag is under the bus with this ownership. And Saudi situation has potentially gave the Glazers pause for thought. If Saudis resurrect the Super League idea, Glazers will want in on that pot of gold, says Mike. Yeah, and the thing is as well, I remember saying this in January, there is no forced sale. They don't have to sell. They have all the power. If they change their mind, they don't have to sell. I think they will sell in one shape or form, but they don't have to do it. Ultimately, they own the football club. This transfer window is far from even okay. Really hope fans start protesting and cause Glazers to sell in a panic soon, says Mehdi. Going back to the striker situation, though, because I think it is such a huge problem at United. But it's like... I was watching the game last night. I've played the game. I was watching the game last night. I'm playing the game tomorrow afternoon, by the way. If you have any free time between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock tomorrow, get yourself on the TalkSport YouTube channel. Goldbridge is playing. I'm playing some football against ex-pros. So it's going to be very difficult because I am a good player, but I am, getting on. And ultimately, I wasn't an ex-pro. So it's going to be bloody hard. But... I'm not backing out. Thoughts on Casemiro, Amrabat and Bruno in midfield, Rashford left wing, Hojlund and Garnacho right wing. Well, Rax, the interesting thing about that is I quite like a midfield of Casemiro, Amrabat and Bruno, and I quite like a front three of Rashford, Hojlund and Garnacho. But where's Mason Mount going to play? Because there ain't no way. Look, we've all got to get our head around this. I'm okay with getting my head around this, but I think some people still need to get their head around this. There is no way that Erik ten Hag has obsessed about Mason Mount, bought him for £55 million, given him the number 7 shirt, and then he's going to put him on the bench. Whatever dream team you've got for United next season, whatever ideas you've got about how we should play, absolutely, categorically, 100% put Mason Mount in your 11 because he will play. Now, that's interesting because where is he going to play? Are we going to see Bruno shifted to the right? And I will say this. Whether it's Mason Mount or Bruno Fernandes on the right-hand side, we are dead down that side. Like, Bruno ain't quick enough to track back. He ain't quick enough to get beyond his man. And we lose what Bruno's good at. So we lose the balance. So I don't know what he's going to do, but Mason Mount will 100% be part of the plan. Is Neville playing tomorrow, says Ken? No, of course not. Be good, though, if he was. I want to just talk about the attack because... Obviously, the hipsters and a lot of people spent a lot of time last season talking about the goalkeeper. And I think we saw last night that, Onana, I don't think he had a great game, but I think what we saw with Onana is, why should he have a great game as well? It's his first game of pre-season. But what we did see with Onana is that at times he was nearly on the halfway line and our centre-backs were behind him. He plays a pass and then he runs out for a second pass. It's completely transformative having Onana in the team. But it's complete bollocks that we're going to start scoring more goals because Onana's in the team. He'll get the defensive line further up the pitch. He'll retain the possession better when he has the ball. But we're still the same in the final third yesterday, even with Onana on the team. You've still got to have the quality in the final third to break teams down and score goals. And Onana won't change that. Because unless he's going to play a 1-2 with Casemiro and get into the attack and shoot, he will only be about what's going on in our half or pinging long balls. It's almost like some fans thought that buying Onana was our biggest problem in the team. It's not the biggest problem in that team. The biggest problem in that... Onana improves that team. Absolutely transformative. But the biggest problem in that team, and it has been... for probably 3 or 4 years, maybe even 5 years, because I think it was the same under Mourinho, correct me if I'm wrong. The biggest problem in that team is scoring goals, creating chances. We've been terrible at it for years. And that's the biggest problem in that team. If you've got a team that can score goals, look, Liverpool were crap last year, but they still created chances. Man City create chances. Arsenal create chances. All right, they don't always put them in the back of the net, but they create chances. We don't create enough chances we aren't as composed and structured in the final third as many teams in the Premier League are. Our biggest problem is the attack, and we still haven't done anything about it. So I think that, yes, Onana is a very good signing. I think Amrabat would be a good signing. I'm hoping Mount's going to be a good signing. But the biggest problem at Man United is still yet to be solved. We don't have a fluent, cohesive plan in the final third. And we certainly don't have the people to put the ball in the back of the net, apart from Marcus Rashford and maybe Bruno. So it's amazing that we're about to hit the end of August and we're going to play Wolves 2 weeks on Monday, and we haven't really done anything on the attack. Now, Erik ten Hag spoke about it a few days ago, that this is the time, it's the only time you get to train. If you want to work on new set pieces, or you want to work on new transitions or new tactics, this is the only time you get to do it, because once the season starts, it's just recuperation and training, isn't it? It's not tactical. You can't do that. So it's scary that we've got 2 weeks until the start of the season where you can't do it, and we've done nothing on the attack. And how impactful will that be for us in the way that we play next season? I remember Robert McCormack saying next season we've got to play better football. Will we play better football next season? Can we play better football next season? Have we worked on playing better football in the final third in pre-season so far? Maybe we're hiding it. But in the pre-season games we've seen so far, we're not clinical, we're not exciting in the final third, and we're not creating enough chances in the final third. So, and if I'm Erik ten Hag and I'm asked that question, I'm going to go, well, I'm 3 strikers down in 12 months. You haven't brought me a striker in. What do you want me to do? Work on patterns and movement with Jadon Sancho as a number 9? You've got to give me the tools to do the job. And I wonder how that's going to hurt us before the season, when the season starts. And I'm really starting to wonder, not worry yet, but I'm really starting to wonder what our identity is going to be next season. Because last season it was a strong defence and counter-attack and reliance on Rashford. Next season, is that what we're going to do again? Rely on a strong defence and transition quickly? And it might be good enough, but Man City have got a very exciting way of playing football. So have Arsenal. Liverpool have the potential to play good, exciting football. Newcastle play exciting football and create lots of chances. What is our identity going to be next? Brighton do it as well. What's our identity next season, do you think? Because at the moment, it's not being discussed enough. We're 2 weeks out from the start of the season. We're playing very similar to what we did last year in the final third. I think I see differences in the first and second phase. I've got to be honest. I think there is some quite quick movement of the ball around the back and the midfield. But once it hits that front four, it's the same as last year. Why can't we play 4-4-2? Because we're not living in the 90s anymore, Enjoy Writing. We're actually down 4 strikers: Cavani, Ronaldo, Martial and Greenwood. We are, Spencer. You're right. We are. And I kind of just say as well, I never shirk the conversations, and we don't shirk the conversations as a community. When are we going to say what's happening with Mason Greenwood? Because, he's got a life, he's got a career. If he's going to go on loan somewhere, he's lost a month. What are they doing with Mason Greenwood? I almost feel like the club might at some point say he's back for the Man United first team, and I mean, can you imagine what's going to go on then? And if he's going to go on loan, surely it would have been better for him to go on loan and be at a club on loan already. I have no answers on the Mason Greenwood situation, but it seems to me we're just wasting time, and to be fair to him, wasting his career. Thoughts on Cole's comments? I don't care if he can do 10 keep-ups. A keeper needs to make saves, says Ayush. James, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. I saw this quote from Andy Cole, I think last night. I think it was on MUTV, and he said, I don't care whether a goalkeeper can do 10 keep-ups. He's got to make saves. I don't know the context. I don't know the context of it. So I agree with him in one sense. You don't want a clown in goal. You want somebody who can save. But modern goalkeeping is what Alisson does. It's what Ederson does. It's what Manuel Neuer does. It's the ability to sweep a keep. It's the ability to play out from the back. If you look at Onana yesterday, when he comes up level with Maguire and takes the ball, he's so confident if he loses the ball, he can get chipped, but he's so confident on the ball, he's creating the opportunity for one of his centre-backs to become the extra man. That's really important in keeping possession and getting higher up the pitch. It's just modern goalkeeping. So I don't know what the context of what Andy Cole said was, because Onana is a good shot stopper anyway, but he's also a modern goalkeeper. So I agree with him when he says I'd rather have a goalkeeper that can save shots than do 10 keepy-ups. But what's the context of that? Because Onana isn't a goal. He's not a circus act. He can make saves, and what he does is actually very important in the modern way of playing out from the back. As for the goals he conceded yesterday, I saw somebody on Twitter say David De Gea would have saved the second goal. You're having a bloody laugh. He's not go gadget arms. No goalkeeper's saving that. One, it was unexpected, the overhead kick, and two, it was right in the bottom corner. That's not getting saved. The first goal, I think he came out too quick. I think De Gea would have saved the first one because he wouldn't have come out his box. But yeah, in hindsight, it looked like Onana could have done better because he didn't need to run out because Martinez was going to tackle Bellingham, and if he'd not run out, he wouldn't have got lobbed. But that's the type of goalkeeper Onana is. I think Alisson might have ran out in that situation as well. It's just one of those goals that you sometimes concede when you've got a goalkeeper that wants to come out off his line. And also, we were down to 10 men, and somebody should have picked up the runner from Bellingham. So, Mark, congratulations on 1.7 million subs. Love it, says Mika. Yes, we did hit 1.7 million subscribers last night, or today, actually, which is incredible. It's there in the top corner, isn't it? I am never, ever, ever going to be able to thank and praise the community over the last few years properly, because we started off with literally me, Kev, Rich and Martin, of which two of those haven't been with us for years on the channel, just talking about United with 10 people watching. And now we've got 1.7 million subscribers, and it's just an amazing community. And Brian says road to 2 million. Well, if we get to 2 million, we get to 2 million. But nobody can dispute the fact that the journey has been iconic. We're the only club football channel to have 1.7 million subscribers. We're quite clearly the biggest, and I believe the best. And I think the reasons for that is integrity, honesty, and diversity and unity. We do disagree a lot. I like that. We've all got different opinions. That's reflective of the world we live in. But everybody is welcome. There is no elitism. There might be elitism in opinion because you're strong-willed on your own opinion. But I think there's too many problems in too many football clubs, and certainly in our football club, about who's better than who's better than them, who's better than them. The jealousy, the bitterness, the lies. We just get on with it, and we've learned along the way. We have learned along the way. I remember in the early years we used to get into little arguments with other United outlets, etc. But let it be. Let's just do our thing and keep growing together, and everyone's entitled to an opinion at the end of the day. I think 4-3-3 is ripe for obliteration. Sick of it, says Enjoy Writing. And Mojo says we need two strikers with a season where we might play 55 games. Relying on just Hojlund and Martial will be a very long season. I'm sort of I don't know about you, but I'm starting to get ready to do my predictions for the new season. I mean, we're only 2 weeks away. I'm sure many of you are doing your fancy Premier League teams and all that. I'm starting to form my opinion on the season ahead. And of course, you start doing that with your own club, Manchester United. I think we're potentially capable of fighting for second or third again. Third, obviously, again. Second, I think we could get involved in that. But on the other hand, I still look at the squad and go, I need to know more. Is Maguire and McTominay going, or are they staying? If they go, are we going to replace them with Amrabat and Disasi? Because I think that improves us. Is Hojlund going to be the only striker if we get Hojlund, which I think we will? Is that enough? Probably not. There are areas in that team that concern me. We don't have enough up front. We don't have enough in the Casemiro position. And I wonder how he's going to set this team up. I think we are going to be in the hands of injuries, luck again. The playing style, which I've already spoken about, I can't see any progression in the final third from last year because we haven't got a striker to do that progression yet. So I think we're a hard team to predict next season. Ideally, realistically, let's get Champions League football, win a trophy and go deep in the Champions League. I'd take that right now. we could do better than that. We could do worse than that. In some ways, that's really exciting. But you know what? The thing that always is there for me is we can predict next season. We can think about next season. But you know, when you pull your head out the toilet or whatever, what's happening with the sale? Like, that's all I ever come back to. I start thinking about the now. I start thinking about the next season. And then I go, we're up for sale. There's somebody who wants to buy the club who's going to clear the debt, rebuild or build a stadium, pump a load of money into the club, infrastructure. That's a very big if that's just there. And I'm sorry. Yeah, there's a new season. Yeah, we're buying some players. Yeah, Ten Hag's capable of anything. That's great. But there's a massive shadow behind us, and it's making me cold. Rasmus is making me warm. He's hotter than the sun. But this massive shadow, we need resolution on that, because we can think about the next 9 months in the league. But what about the next 9 weeks with the sale, or months? Like, that needs resolvement. And look, you can tell incompetent ownerships by bad decision making. And we mentioned the Mason Greenwood situation. I can't believe they've not resolved that yet. I mean, who are they? I don't know. They think they're off the bloody bill. What are they investigating? They've been investigating Mason Greenwood's case for 6 months. Why has that not been resolved? The sale. Why has that not been resolved? And you know what it all comes down to? Weak management. Weak managers don't make decisions. Strong managers make decisions. They're ruthless, they're aggressive, they get it done, they back themselves. We've got the weakest ownership in the league because they won't make a decision. And, we are, therefore, just dithering. Mark, having to sell to buy, what current players hampers our season if he's not sold this window, says Luke. I think if we keep Maguire and we keep McTominay, it doesn't make any difference, really. They won't play very often. They'll play every now and again unless we get injuries. The big problem with keeping them is that they'll be worth less next summer. I think we could cash in and get good money now. I don't think it really matters if we keep Maguire and McTominay. I wouldn't be surprised if we do. But they won't play much. They won't hinder our season, because if we keep Harry Maguire, he's not going to play ahead of Varane or Martinez, is he? If we keep Scott McTominay, he's not going to play ahead of Mount or Casemiro or Amrabat if we get him. So, I mean, that should be a big sign to them to want to go. I don't think there's a massive problem if we keep them. I don't think they're going to damage our season, because I don't think they'll play much anyway. Mark, so yeah, there we go. I've answered that. Anyway, look, I am starting to get tired now. I said I was buzzing. I actually am starting to get a bit tired now. Don't forget, Manscaped, 20% off, free worldwide shipping. You will never regret getting their new beard trimmer. It is absolutely amazing. So many different lengths on it as well, from 1 all the way to 10. Who shaves on a 10? You must be bloody Santa to have a shave on a 10. My stubble is normally about a 1. 0.5, you can barely see the stubble. I don't like looking clean shaven. I hate being clean shaven. I hate being clean shaven. I bet some of you like it. The lawnmowers for down there, that's fantastic as well. 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Check it out through the link in the description, or scan the QR code with your camera phone next to me. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Manchester United. I don't know whether there's a press conference tomorrow with Ten Hag. There might be. I'll get on with Ryan and Adam and find out. They're still out there till Monday. Dortmund is in the early hours of Sunday morning. We might get something. Lovely show, says Rune. Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. I've always said that I felt something about Friday and Rasmus Hojlund, so let's wait and see what happens with that. But I'm not going to say, I certainly haven't been told tomorrow. In fact, some people think we'll have more talks tomorrow, so it might not be tomorrow anyway. But let's see what happens. Don't forget, if you want to tune in on TalkSport's YouTube channel tomorrow at 2 o'clock, Goldbridge will be playing some amount of football. Might be 1 minute, might be 10, we'll see. But have a good evening. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm going to get a bit of rest. It's been a tiring last couple of days, but thoroughly enjoyable, and I'm glad I spent it with you. Thanks everyone. Take care. Speak to you all in a bit.